a Canadian minister said that the United States implored them to continue aiding UNRWA. Can you confirm that the ambassador to the UN actually implored the Canadians to continue aiding UNRWA?
I am not going to get into private diplomatic conversations, but we have always made clear that we think the work that UNRWA does is important. Right. That we support the hold on. I see the interruption coming. So sorry. That's fine. I understand. We have always made we have always made clear that we support the work that UNRWA does. And we have always made clear that it's important that that work not be interrupted, even though we thought it was appropriate on behalf of the United States to suspend our funding. Now, of course, that funding has been blocked going forward. So we have engaged with other countries about different ways to ensure that the delivery of humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people is not interrupted, that it continues. And again, I think you have to go back to something I've said before that's been lost a little bit. When we suspended our funding, we only had an upcoming funding of about an upcoming payment of about $300,000 coming. Not a major. When you look at the overall funding that we provide, it was not a major amount of money that we were providing any time before this summer. Anyway, so we have been working with other countries to make sure that work can continue unimpeded.
So, by the way, I mean, this suspension now that funding is blocked. Does that make the investigation or waiting on the investigation moot? Does it make the issue moot?
So with respect to a question of U.S. funding, it's now blocked. That's an act of Congress, and
you're now waiting
hold on. It would, members of Congress, I'm sure, will want to see the results of that investigation, decide what they might do in future funding cycles. But certainly, we want to see the results of that investigation as well. And I should note that other countries have said they want to see, and the UN itself, which commissioned this investigation on its own accord, has made very clear that they think it's important that they see that they get a timely full accounting of what that investigation shows.
And finally, I promise. An Israeli officer.
That wasn't too. That's not too many. Sorry.
No. Anyway, an Israeli officer said that Israel engaged in waste of or overbombing and so on. He said we could have done the same thing with 10% of the kind of destruction that they levied on Gaza. Have you seen that report?
I've seen that comment. I'm not sure I follow. Sorry.
No, he's saying that Israel engaged in obvious overkill in terms of the amount of bombing, the waste, the destruction of urban areas, and so on. They could have done exactly the same thing with 10% of the destruction. So have you seen that report? And maybe you ought to take a look at it. If you haven't
I have not seen that specific comment, but obviously we have urged the government of Israel to take every step that it possibly can to minimize harm to civilians and minimize harm to civilian infrastructure.
Thank you.
Alex, go ahead.
May I go back to Russia, please?
Sure.